This week, I would like to welcome Emily to the Vulnerability Rocks podcast. I have been following her and her journey with her little fam and her two amazing little girls who have got characters like you just wouldn't believe. So at the end, I'll share the handles. You can go follow them and see them grow because they are incredible and a testament to this lovely mama that's in front of me. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be here. It's so exciting.
Me too.
Nice to actually talk to another human being, be it on Zoom. But
An adult one, you mean?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That Paw Patrol and
So I've invited you on because I've been following your journey, and when you were pregnant with Rocky and Winter was still really little, how old was Winter when you fell pregnant with Rocky?
18 months or just before.
Yeah. And I noticed that there was some struggle points for you through that pregnancy that I wanted to talk to you about today. And also kind of the transition between being a mama of one to being a mama of two, what that journey's been like for you, and your feelings and emotions and fears around that. But also you have told me that there's something that you'd like to talk to me about. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Where would you like to start?
I guess I'll start with the pregnancy and the anxieties I had during that. And then I guess that can kind of lead into the other things I wanted to talk about. So yeah, with Rocky, who's my second, I really struggled with just feelings of I was terrified of how I was going to cope with two, how things like how the birth was going to go, but mostly how I was going to mother and how I was going to deal with it all. Because and those kind of anxieties just grew and grew into every day. I struggled with just little tasks, deciding just silly little things. It would just be too much, and I'd get the sweats and I'd shake and I'd kind of start to panic and have like panic attacks over really silly things that would just end up driving me mad because it felt so it was silly. It didn't feel like I was worrying about anything significant enough, because especially when I talk to people about it, they just say you've got nothing to worry about, which makes it worse because you're worrying so much. Then you feel crazy. So yeah, I really with both pregnancies actually I struggled mentally with that kind of thing. The first one I was just really down. I worried a lot about how I was going to mother and how I was going to react to having a kid. I could always imagine myself with older children playing and being more kind of physical, but the baby bit of like just loving and taking care of someone, I was just really terrified of how to do that. And obviously it's turned out totally fine and I love it, and actually I've enjoyed with Rocky, the second my second child, I've enjoyed the baby bit so much. I actually want another one, which I never thought I'd say. Because as soon as they're out, it's like, oh, it's okay. Yes, it's really hard, but you just get through each day, each moment passes, and you wake up again the next day, and it is, of course, it's all fine. But yeah, so I struggled with that, but I think it may have seemed like I struggled more, but I was much more open about it this pregnancy. Instagram has been so wonderful for me for that. It's been a place where I can kind of express how I feel, and I've always struggled with that. I've always kept like not diaries, but like just I've always written things down. But Instagram was suddenly this place where I could write how I was feeling, and kind of it's like you have this like invisible wall, don't you, of like I'm putting it out there, which feels really refreshing. But you're opening yourself up to, you're being really vulnerable, and I guess that feels refreshing in itself. But yeah, it's strange. It feels like there's a kind of safety blanket, even though you're talking to thousands of people. It's really weird. I guess a lot of people that follow me are in the same boat, or I know they would have been. I get so much help from other people who often just say, it's okay, I felt like that too, or you're doing a great job, or which is great. So yeah, although I did struggle mentally with Rocky when I was pregnant. Since she's been out, it's been wonderful. But yeah, I as I've got older, I've been much better at being able to talk about how I feel. But not great yet, because that's why I keep getting, in my life, I keep getting these moments of, or times of anxiety where it all gets too much, and I'm like, I'm fine, everything's fine, and then I'm like, I can't breathe, and well, yeah, I don't know if you.
Anxiety is the pits, and I don't know what that's like, in terms of your pregnancy and how you felt, but what I noticed when you were talking was, and what I liked about the way you were talking, I didn't like the fact that you weren't feeling good, don't get me wrong, right? That's not what I mean, but I loved the fact that you were using that space for you, because I know that you very much use your space on Instagram. It's your space, right? And you own it beautifully. But I'm also very, very aware of the help that would have brought to so many people, because you normalized something that I feel a lot of women may well experience in their pregnancies, but may not come forward and talk about so easily. And I love the way that you were vulnerable and shared that, because when we share things, we suddenly realize we're not alone, and you would have helped so many people to know that they weren't alone. And as you say, you do get messages back where people say, I felt like that too, and it kind of goes both ways. It's like a two-way street, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think actually it's quite interesting that I try to, I often talk about struggles once it's like a success story, when you're like, I've been really struggling recently, but now I'm okay, and it was because of this, and I sorted it out with this, and that can be helpful. But sometimes it's good to just say, I'm having a really hard time, and but that's really hard to say, because it makes you feel like you're not coping, because you haven't coped yet, you haven't kind of got through the other side,
haven't solved it yet, right? And we do get, I think it is in us to have a problem, solve it, and then we can like you say, talk about the victory. To talk about things in real time requires an extra layer of courage and vulnerability to do that, because guess what, we're in the struggle and we don't have the answers yet, right? So that's even more daunting to share in that moment, isn't it?
Yeah, also because when you're feeling worried or anxious, or if anxiety's kind of got you by the balls at the time, it can often be confusing, actually. It might not be for a really it might just be for nothing at all, really, on paper. So it's hard to kind of complain or say, like, I'm having a really hard time, I'm feeling really down, but my life's really good. I've got like 2 healthy young girls that are lovely, and I've got a partner, and I live, life is good, and I've got really nothing to stress about. But here's me panicking about absolutely nothing at all. And it's sometimes I can beat myself up about, you're fine, just stop whinging. But it's not about that, is it? It's about how you're able to, how you're coping with. And I've always found exercise has been a huge help for that. It's been my not just for like the endorphins and all that kind of thing that exercise gives you, but that mental strength of getting through the set or the workout, where you think, like, I can't do this, and you do it. It's that, like, I can, just those moments of achievement that I rely on quite heavily. Just someone's here saying, like, you can do it, because you keep doing it, so it's fine. Just
and the thing is, and that brings me nicely onto this point, what you've said there, like, I've got this amazing life, I've got this partner, I've got these 2 children. We can be both, right? We can have on paper everything looking lovely and nice, but we can have all of our emotions all at the same time, and it's absolutely okay. And we can be both, right? We can be completely grateful and over the moon with our family and our partner, and still have anxiety and worry sitting and coexisting. And that's life, right? That's being human, and it's okay. And then equally, the exercise thing is interesting, because with the anxiety is normally telling us all the bad stuff, right? It's normally telling us that we can't do these things, we're not capable, whatever it is. Everyone's internal dialogue is different, but it will be full of fear and worry and panic and generally shortcomings and not enoughs. So when you then go and do exercise and you do it and achieve it, it's like the argument coming the other way, right? Well, you can, right? So it's like brings that balance, I suppose.
Yeah, I think some people feel that exercise might be a time to escape your thoughts and your feelings and your worries, but it's a time for me to actually really get inside my head. Like I really I'm feeling what my body's doing, and I'm feeling like I can't do this, I can do it, I'm doing this, you know. I don't, it's not an escape from me, it's an escape from my environment. Escape sounds like a bad word, like you're trying to run away from something, but yeah, so I don't use it as like, yeah, trying to run away from my problems. I'm actually, it's a way of like tackling them in a way.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is also why I struggled through pregnancies. Obviously I still exercised and stuff through pregnancy, but I wasn't able to in the same kind of way push my body. And I wasn't exercising as much, and when I feel really kind of heavy with the anxiety, I just want to hide in bed. I don't want to, you know, so those days I didn't do anything, and that's when I really lean on the exercise to help me feel like I'm just managing stuff. So when I'm not able to exercise as much, I'm like, oh, I've got no coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the thing I wanted to talk to you about,
tell me.
and I wanted to talk about it because I never talk about it, and I think it's something, well, I know it's something happened when I was younger, that it was always like something I dealt with. It was fine, you know, it was like a trauma. I'll explain what happened in a second. But you know, it's like you just put on a brave face and you go through life and everything's fine. That weird thing happened, but it's fine. And actually it hugely affects my everyday, and all these things I'm talking about with anxiety and feeling like I'm not coping and stuff, I really think all stem from this thing that happened where I felt hugely out of control. I think it's important to talk about with someone like you, who I can just sit and, you know, I don't know, just be honest. And so when I was 12, which is like a real kind of coming of age type time in your life, isn't it?
Difficult time. 12, like,
yeah,
it's difficult, like, but you know, like those years, I think, like when you start to come into that time, 10 to like
high school,
13, 14,
yeah,
it's tough.
you go to high school, well, mine was called high school,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, the world. Yeah. Anyway, so I lived on like a country estate. That sounds really posh, but basically my mum and my stepdad worked for these really rich people who had this big lot of land, and you know, it was amazing living there. We lived in the middle of nowhere, and there was a couple of houses in this estate like 5 miles. It's huge. And one of those houses, the closest one to ours, which was about a mile and a half away, was the gamekeeper. So he looked after all the land, whatever, and he had 7 really badly looked after vicious dogs. Basically, they kept them in like cages outside. It was horrible. And I happened to be riding my bike, and he never let them out, like it wasn't, yeah. So I was riding my bike kind of past his house, off into the village. It's like hiding. And I noticed all these dogs were out. He let them all out. So they were, you know, like pack mentality, kind of tourist, looking after their land, you know, they were being territorial, is the word.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically just you know, attacked me, jumped me. And was one specifically that was like, you know, he grabbed my leg and pulled me towards him. He was in the field. It was just really,
Oh my gosh.
really traumatic. Like, you just kind of thing you see on a film or something. So that was, you know, and things like, I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and my t-shirt was all ripped open. And that's why I said, like, you know, I was 12, and I just felt so exposed, not just because of that, but I had all these dogs. It was just awful. So everything was fine. You know, they took me to hospital and all that. I was in hospital for quite a long time. So I had lots of time off school and stuff like that, and I was in a wheelchair and things. It was really brutal.
Oh my gosh.
But I was very much like, I just never dealt with it. I never really talked about it. When I did talk about it, it was like in court. This huge court case went, you know, for years, and I had like offerings of like counseling and stuff, but I just couldn't cope with doing it. I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to kind of smile through, everything's fine, aren't I wonderful, I can just keep going and you know, brush it off. And it's just over the years, and now I've got 2 kids, I'm just full of what's it called when you mums get it all the time? Oh my god, I've forgotten it. When you worry about you're holding your child going down the stairs and you just have intrusive thoughts. That's it. When you think about like the worst thing that could happen, and not being able to look after them, not being able to save them, like I have that all the time. And I still get nightmares all the time, and I'm 34, like I've done, you know. So all these like things I'm kind of, you know, the worries I have that I feel are trivial, I think all stem from this time of just feeling completely out of control, and not just the event that happened, but thereafter. I mean, I don't want to talk at you for hours. I could go on for hours about this, but my mum and my stepdad then, who worked on this estate, lost their job and they broke up, and then my mum, we were like homeless basically. It was awful, and I felt hugely responsible that this event was my fault and it was this catalyst for everything going wrong. So yeah, that I never talk about it, and I think that I've grown up feeling like, keep your head down, just keep smiling, don't complain, because what's the point? You know, what's the point in asking for help, essentially, which is crazy. And I think now with my girls, I almost go the other way. I'm constantly telling them like, you're amazing, you're good enough, you can do whatever you want, you know, I love you so much. You know, I'm almost like overly gushing to them, like, you know, talk to me about how you're feeling, and I'm always talking about emotions, and yeah, I worry I maybe go a bit too much.
Oh gosh, you know, it's a lot. And I mean, just a couple of things, like there's a lot to it, and obviously
That's
you
quite
literally
heavy,
just
wasn't it?
no, but you literally just you know, you've given me like the story, but obviously beneath that there must be so much, because that out of control feeling when you're young is so incredibly overwhelming. And then I noticed that you said, you know, I was 12, right? So, and your clothes had been ripped open, which I'm the 12 part and the coming into age part, I'm guessing is behind that, what you said there, and feeling incredibly vulnerable and exposed. So it's not just the fact, and I say just the fact that you have been, you know, viciously attacked by these dogs, but it's then the social impact of the physical kind of presentation of you in that moment, at that time, at that age.
It's
When, you know,
vulnerability is the
yeah,
Yeah, it's the exact word. I just felt completely like, yeah, exposed emotionally, physically. I mean, this is something I've never talked about anyone about, you know, my clothes being ripped and all that kind of thing. It was my leg that people were worried about, you know, and but yeah, I'm actually shaking. My hands are shaking. Talking about it. It's fine. It's good. I just I feel now at 34 with 2 kids. I'm really analysing myself and why I behave in certain ways. You know, was it my upbringing? What things I went through? Of course it is. But you really think about those things, and that affects how you want to mother your own children, and how I want to kind of protect them and, you know, make sure they don't have any horrible things that they get to be. Of course, you can't do that. You kind of have to.
But it makes sense. It makes sense, right? With what you've gone through and the confusion, the out of control, the vulnerability, the exposure that you felt in that moment, and your age is critical in that time. It adds an added layer of complexity to it, right? Because we are very self-aware at that time. I don't really like to use the word self-conscious because it feels like we shouldn't be self-aware, right? We become hugely self-aware in those years, as we should do. It's completely normal to be more, you know, really self-aware at that time. And I just think you had so much to deal with there. And you also said that you went on to have a court case as well.
Oh my God, that was awful.
Yeah.
It went on for years, and I didn't want to do it.
Oh.
I just was happy to just, you know, move on. And we had to keep talking about it. And the guy who was who owned the dogs, he was like representing himself. So he was standing up, asking me these questions, kind of telling me I'm lying. It was awful. And I remember actually there was a big thing for me at the time. I was like 15, 16, or like, 14, 15, 16, about what to wear and how to present myself. Because at that age, I wanted to kind of look smart, but like attractive. It was weird. I wanted to kind of be like this, and also vulnerable. It was super strange. And I remember being really paranoid about what I wore. I remember my dad saying, like, just remember you're a kid, like no one's thinking about this. And I get so wound up about how I wanted to be seen by others. And yeah, it was awful. It was so bad. But it went on for years because these things are just full of, like, I don't know, there's all these like loopholes, and it was kind of my word against his about whether the dogs were vicious, or he was saying I was enticing them, all that kind of thing. Anyway, that's why it went on for so long. But and then after, this baby's a bit too honest, when I won the money, which I didn't really care about at that age, really. I didn't really have the value, you know. I just whittled it away on kind of self-destruction, partying a lot and traveling, and I did some great things, but I just wanted to forget about the whole thing, I think, and just spend it all on having a good time.
Well, and actually coping.
Yeah. As it says, was it a good time? I mean, I laugh about it now, but you know, I spent quite a few years not really liking myself and just wanting to just bury my head in it in partying.
Yeah, and surviving, right? Surviving what you've just gone through. And the thing is, if that had happened to you at 11 and the court case didn't happen till a number of years later, I think anything like that when you're young is so incredibly layered. I was involved in a court case, totally different reasons, but the event happened when I was 16 and the court case happened when I was 18, so 2.5 years. Now, I was a bit older than you at that time, but what I'm coming to is when something big has happened in a young person's life, and then you add the complexity of a court case on top of that, I know as a child, I was a child at the time. I always thought I was an adult, right? Because I was involved in this very complicated thing that was very important. That was somebody's word against mine. I was always thinking that that meant that I no longer had the right to be childlike or young, and that actually
Yeah.
I was a fully grown adult. But the truth is, I mean, you're not at 16 to 18, let alone 11, 12, 13 and 14 like yourself. So I can relate to parts of it in that it suddenly puts this huge amount of pressure on you as a very young child to do something very adult that we are simply not ready to do, I don't believe. And therefore we do our best, right? And you saying things like, oh, you know, I turned up and I was wanted to dress smart. And well, guess what? You're trying, like, it makes sense to me that you would be like that way because you've been thrust into a very grown-up situation.
Or you're put into a situation where you are being judged.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is. You're being people are really looking at who you are and what you're saying and how you're presenting yourself. Like that's what it's about, right?
Yeah. And it becomes down to whether or not you're, I don't know about you, but for me, believable as a person and who you are as a person. And I think that's huge for any young person to go through.
I don't know about you because you're obviously a bit older, but not just the court case. This goes for like a huge part of that time in my life, like those teenage years. There's very little I actually remember. Like I've blanked out so much. I don't remember I remember what the court looked like. I remember what I was wearing, but I don't remember the words I said. And I especially don't remember. I have like a few days where I can picture those years of like 15, 16, you know, we were moving around. A lot happened in my life and I shut down. I just didn't take it in. And that was like a coping mechanism. I was unhappy. My mum was unhappy. And I just like, nope, this isn't happening. And now I've just got no memory of those years, just like a few snippets of like playing a piano in one of the houses we moved in, and that's about it. And that's it's very sad. Like you just shut off a load of that. I mean, I was partying quite a lot of the time as well. That might have something to do with it.
But you know, like it's also just too much for one human being to process all of these things when there's a lot coming in quick succession. And I certainly have snippets, especially the court case from, it was like a 2 or 3 days, can't even remember, 2 or 3 day court case, can't remember exactly. And I just have snippets. I know I was there, but if you asked me to recount everything, I couldn't. I couldn't.
It's mad,
do
isn't
that
it?
for
Because
you.
you think it's something that would stay with you forever, but I think it's traumatic, and you just don't take it in.
Well, and also everyone around you is giving their accounts, and you know, like you say, it's all going to boil down to, do they believe me?
And the language they use in those kind of environments is just like, you know, I couldn't keep up with like how the judge spoke and stuff. It was like, I don't understand what you're saying. You know, how they word the questions is like not how you speak to people normally on day to day. It's really intimidating.
And a really antagonizing environment.
I think
that's
the point, isn't it? To be intimidating and to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, very much so. And a very antagonizing environment as well, especially when you get cross-examined. I can't remember necessarily what I said, but I can remember feeling incredibly stressed and almost sort of disassociating from my physical self in that moment. It's like I was kind of watching myself do it. And I noticed that you said that you didn't want to pursue it, and neither did I. You know, it's interesting. I had to. The Crown prosecution made me, but I didn't want to. So it's just, and then you end up swept along in this process that one, you didn't want the event to happen, and two, you didn't really sign up for this process either, for me anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about
Yeah.
you.
And I was just thinking then about how many, this must just happen every day. And at the age I was just, you know, all the adults were just sorting it out. It wasn't my decision to go, let's take him to court.
No.
The police took him to court, and that took a few years because it was on a public footpath. It was like a thing the police do. And then we took them to court. I think it was for like money. I sounds crazy now, but like money for plastic surgery in the future. I think that was the whole kind of point for taking, you know. And I don't think I had the confidence at that time to say, can we just stop? I don't want to do this. Don't want to talk about it. And you just go over. I think actually this probably has an impact on why I disassociate. You know, I don't talk about it. It's because, or I disassociate the emotions a lot from it. You go over and over and over and over a traumatic experience. It becomes a story that you're just reading and reading. You know, it's like, it's just words then. And then to then go and talk about it to a counsellor, or, you know, and when your granddad might say, how are you really feeling? You're like, oh, fine. I don't want to go into this again. It's fine. And you just bury my head in the sand. And yeah, it is. I think it's come back to bite me in the ass. Like my 30s, pregnant, like, how am I gonna look after someone else? You know, if I can't look after myself, or you know, if anything bad ever happens to them, what am I gonna do? Or yeah, I think also this is a very deep thing to just brush over, but my mum as well, and my dad, so they'd broken up for this when that event happened. They broke up when I was like 4, and that was all fine at that age. I just kind of, you know, just got on with it, and it was just fun weekends with my dad. But both parents, actually, as wonderful as they are, do not talk about emotions. Like my dad is like, you know, the reason they broke up basically is because he just refused to argue. He's, you know, he doesn't, his mood is very much the same all the time. He's great, and it's usually a happy, you know, happy-go-lucky mood. My mum is quite kind of, was then, when I was a kid, quite stressed and angry, and yeah, we just didn't talk about how we felt at all. In fact, we were always told, you know, you don't cry, you don't kind of make yourself vulnerable. We don't talk about, we never even said, I remember when I was probably a teenager, 16 or 17, when I decided to tell my dad I loved him. And I felt really weird about it, because we didn't say that to each other in our family. I'm one of 3 girls, and we never said that to our parents. And I felt a bit weird, like, is he going to think I'm being like, like I'm being say to your boyfriend, say to your dad you love him. And then now I say it all the time. Oh God, I say it to my kids all the time, and to my mum and to my dad. But at the time I was like, I want to say how I feel. And I was terrified about how it would come across.
Isn't that interesting? Like,
Oh no.
when you say you were terrified about how it would come across, because you thought it was the sort of thing you would say to a romantic partner, so therefore,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
because the word was just never used in my house. Like, we didn't say like I love you, you know, flippantly. I remember my friend, my best friend when I was younger, she used to say to her mum and dad, I love you, before she left the house, all the time. And I felt a bit uncomfortable when I was with her. I felt a bit weird, like, why are you telling me you love them? Which is crazy now, but
it's not.
yeah,
It's
I
not
decided I was
though.
going to say it to my
It's
dad.
not. It's not crazy. And you know, like, similarly, they were never said in my household, and physical affection wasn't something I ever witnessed. I only ever noticed words of affection and physical affection if someone was sick or had hurt themselves, but other than that, no. so I get what you're saying.
Massive.
Like, you know, it took me to move out and to move back, not to move to move out. Sorry, I moved out very young, to then start visiting them. When I then started to become more affectionate in my social circles and be sort of more emotionally kind of connected to people. And then I would come back and I would hug them, and my family would be like, you know, like rigid, like planks, like, what?
Yeah. I think my dad's used to it now, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh God, I do it all the time. I say it all the time. But yeah, at the time, it's weird because like you don't really know how to do it. They don't really know how to. Yeah, God, it's
Do
strange,
it or
isn't it?
receive it.
Huh?
They don't really know how to do it or receive it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I think it was probably really tough for my mum as well, because there's of course there's reasons for that. I mean, you know, my dad grew up. He's from like a farming background, and his parents are very like, you know, just go feed the cows. And my mum was like, you know, her and her mother never really had a close relationship, still don't. Her dad, she did, but I don't think they like, you know, told each other they loved them or anything. My mum's just, then that generation, I think, don't come from a very gushy kind of, yeah. Well, maybe I'm assuming here, but so, you know, we're all just doing what we feel is best for our kids and stuff. And I honestly believe my mum brought us up quite, I used to say strict, but she wasn't strict. She was just quite stern. And, you know, we didn't, emotions just weren't there to be had or talked about. And we had lots of jobs and we got on with it. And she felt like she was bringing us up to be really self-sufficient and strong. And actually, there's huge strength now, I know now, in vulnerability and in being feminine and emotional and talking about how you feel and being sensitive. There's huge strength in that. You don't have to be closed off for people to respect you or to get love.
Or to be seen, and to be seen as capable, and to be seen as capable and not weak. And you know, we can be emotional. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It means quite to me anyway, it means completely the opposite. It shows incredible strength and courage and bravery, because as you say, generations that have come before us, more often than not in all cases, but quite often, have come from places where they were taught that to show those things was a weakness. It wasn't a strength, right? And grow up in these different belief systems. It's no reflection on whether someone's a good parent or not. It's just different teachings, different learnings. And I mean, I believe, as you know, hence the title of the podcast, completely the opposite, right? That it's incredibly strong to show up as you are in all aspects, because otherwise we start going into this pretense and this pretending, which becomes exhausting, and then
oh my God,
isolating. And
I was actually talking to someone the other day about kind of your presence on Instagram, one's presence on social media, and how you kind of, you know, how you work that. And I couldn't think of anything worse to constantly be showing up as someone else, like acting in a way. It would just be exhausting. And that's I feel so lucky that I've got this platform, it's like an open diary. It helps me so much, because I'm really lucky that the people that follow me and I communicate with are really similar to me. You know, they've kids, or you have the same kind of dislikes and likes. Not everyone, but it seems most people I really feel like I can talk to, and I've got a voice that it's amazing. It's so amazing. And I'm lucky enough to do a little bit of work on Instagram here and there. Like I do the odd ad, which has helped a lot through this year when I haven't been working. But yeah, that's like, you know, I'm conscious of always wanting to be just me, just you know, not trying to be like presenting myself in any other way, because I'd find that so much more of a weight than just being yourself.
Oh, completely. And I think it completely is. And the minute that I've come from like had a corporate job for a very long time, and one thing that my mental health journey has taught me is that the minute I start pretending, I immediately start to feel fatigued. I immediately start to feel heavy, tired, burdened, because I just think, oh God, you know, when you have to start pretending. And that's like a flag for me. The minute I start feeling really exhausted, I have to sit there and think, have I been pretending to be okay anywhere when do you know what I mean? Not pretending to be someone I'm not, but just that level of pretense, however it comes, whether you're trying to put on a show for someone, and you say it is like acting, right? Whether you're trying to put on a show for someone, or whether you are just constantly pretending to be on top of everything all the time. You can only do it so long before you're absolutely whacked out and exhausted, and you're like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm kind of hearing when you're saying that, like, that is how we are with our kids a lot of the time. Like, that's why it's so emotionally exhausting, because especially with my toddler, well, yeah, she's 3 now. It's a constant, like, everything's fine, you know, trying to work through her emotions, and it's like you're acting with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly trying to be this, let's do the crafts and let's do this, and it's okay, let's kind of manage the situation, and let's calm you down. And it's I don't know, you're constantly being this character in a way, where I don't show my vulnerabilities to her, really. I don't go, sometimes I go, mummy's really stressed, sorry, I just shouted, or whatever, but I don't do that very often. And you constantly have to be, you know, mum that you're, and the weight of being a role model and wanting to kind of show them your best side all the time, you know. This is how we deal with stressful situations, dear. It's exhausting. That's what, at the end of the day, I'm like, especially these winter months, I'm like, do I work out and feel, you know, that sense of like achievement, or do I just guzzle this glass of wine and feel not of a sense of achievement, but this vice that I could just relax, just be myself. I don't want anyone to talk to me. No one touch me or talk to me.
No one touch me or talk to me. My friends I hear my friends say that a lot. Like, a lot of my friends are, well, all of my friends are mums, and I hear them say that a lot. They're like, I just don't want to be touched. I just need some time where I'm not got anyone touching me.
Yeah, I think our 2 as well, at the age, well, one's 3.5 and one's 1.5 nearly, and they are quite literally on you. And I've like chosen to just, you know, breastfeed all the time, it seems, because I can't deal with crying, or like or a whingy baby. I'm just like, yep, just keep me happy, it's fine, then I'm less stressed. So she's quite literally on me all the time, not all the time, or crawling on you or jumping on you. And the other one, as soon as Don finishes work, they're like playtime, especially this year when there's no like soft play and stuff. He is literally a climbing frame, and when they're in bed, we're both like, do not speak to me, don't move, don't touch me. Yeah, you feel, and it's wonderful. Of course it's wonderful. And literally, what, 2 years time, they won't want to be on me. They won't want to be, I mean, they won't be breastfeeding hopefully by then, but it'll be totally different. So yeah, I'm just trying to embrace it. Embrace being the human climbing frame.
There's a great book, I don't know if you've read it, by Glennon Doyle, called Untamed. Have you heard of it?
No.
Read it, it's hilarious. It's brilliant, it's
I haven't
hilarious.
got time to read a book. Well, if I showed you the books that I've got next to my bed that I'm waiting to read, or I've started about 6 books and I just can't seem to do it. But saying this, people often message me saying, how do you find the time to to work out. I probably, if I switch things around, I could probably read a book. So
Or audiobook.
go on.
Audible.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I've got, like you, and I don't even have any children. I've got 2 cats. So I don't know what my excuse is. Next to my bed, I have 4 books, right, that I've literally got to page 10. And Audible this year has changed my life because I've got through, those same paperback books I have gone and bought again on Audible because I thought this is just never going to happen.
When do you listen to them?
So
in bed?
No, I put my ears in, and if I'm not washing my hair in the shower, then I'll do my face separately. So I wash my body, and I've got my little, AirPods in.
They're not waterproof, are they?
No, but if you're just if you're not washing your head and your hair,
oh, I see.
Wash from here and then do my face in the sink. I can do, I can do that. Do my teeth, wash my face, do my hair, get dressed. 20 minutes a day, right? Probably, and with the ears in. When I'm going to the loo, when I'm making my thing, I'll just leave my ears in, phone in the other room, and just listen, right? And I've got through more books than I've got through like ever. Amazing.
You convinced me.
Try it. And if you do, try the book Untamed. It is it's a wild ride, but she's a great writer, and she's great at normalizing being human. And it's just, I can't explain it. You need to listen to it yourself. But one of her things that she says a lot is, we can do hard things. So that is their family motto. Like in homes, like you'll see, like, love and peace is here, or whatever, keep calm and carry on. No, her motto is, we can do hard things. And the whole book, it's just incredible. It's wild. Read it. I'm sure you'll love it. Everyone I've said to read it, they come back and they're like, Emma, that's just blown my mind, that book. It's so good. Try it.
I think that's a quote. I try and live by my life by that kind of.
Yeah. I
mean, that's what I'll take away from this podcast. That's for sure. I mean, life is about the struggles we go through and getting through them, and being. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Really. I mean, a life with no struggle would just be. I mean, I can't imagine it really.
Yeah.
But that's why I train. That's what for the strength it gives me.
Yeah.
We can get through these hard times, and it makes you a better person. It makes you stronger, more resilient, more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did it. I saw it, like, honestly, sometimes I watch some of the things you do and you just blow my mind because you've got two young girls. But you obviously signed up for the triathlon.
Oh yeah.
Right. Now look, guys, if you're
great.
Oh my gosh, like this woman. So I'm just incredible. I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. So basically, she signed up to do the triathlon. COVID, 2020, thank you, cancelled it. So this absolute brilliant lunatic went ahead, did it anyway. Just did it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't not.
Wow, amazing. Just amazing.
I'm definitely one for a plan. Like, if something's in the diary is happening, like I can't.
She went ahead, guys, and
also
like, go back on her Instagram and find it. But she went and just did it anyway. She was smashing it out on the bike in her garden. I was like, we're breastfeeding at the same time, guys. Breastfeeding at the same time. I was just like, wow, with a capital W. Wow.
Yeah, it was great. It was definitely that, sense of achievement that I wanted. It was a reason I kind of signed up for it. So, like, a year after I had my second baby, and I signed up when she was maybe a week old, and I was, up for all night breastfeeding, thinking, like, how am I ever going to get myself out of bed, let alone something as massive as this? So I signed up, and I had to do it anyway. And actually, it worked out really well because I was still breastfeeding so much at the time that going off on my bike for 40 kilometers would have been really, wouldn't have worked, because I would have been worried about the girls. I had to get back. One would have had to nap or whatever. So I could just be in the garden. I had snacks and just get on with it. And it was great. I loved it.
And well, I loved witnessing it, honestly. And I was just like, this woman is incredible. She's like smashing it out the garden. She's got her snacks. She's breastfeeding the baby. Like, she's just really cool. Such a cool thing to do. And up yours COVID, she did it anyway. You know.
Yeah. The worrying thing is now though that it wasn't cancelled, it was postponed. So at some point they're going to do it again. I'm going to have to start training again.
Got to train all over again.
Yeah. But at least I know I can do it now.
She'll be double fit. She'll be double fit by that point.
In half the time. I'll do it in half the time.
And just to go back to your journey from 1 to 2.
Oh yeah.
A mum of 1 to a mum of 2. What were your, obviously you shared some of the fears that have come up in parenting for you, which make total sense to me given what happened to you. But from the mum to 1 to the mum to 2, what fears came up for you, and what thoughts came up for you?
Not being there emotionally and physically for the older one. Because we had, at that point, we'd had such a wonderful bond, as all parents do, but she's particularly she's a very sensitive soul, and she's quite emotional, and so we just had a kind of closeness that meant I was quite, you know, I had to be there for her to talk her through things. And she was very she liked to be close to me all the time, you know, she's very that kind of kid. So I just felt like, God, how am I going to give you all this with having a newborn? And I breastfed the first one right up until a month or so after, before I had the second, and I was quite physically involved in, you know, with the older one, and I was just worried I wasn't going to be there for her, basically, or and one of my biggest stress triggers is like noise and chaos and not being able to feel like I'm coping with the situation. And yeah, the more kids, the more chaos and stress. And I just thought, I'm going to be that shouty, crazy, angry mum that's like, I can't cope with this, which, you know, I have had times where I am that person, but on the whole, it's okay. It's okay. And also what I found, and what I'm sure most people find when they have their second, is one, the baby sleeps loads, and everyone says that to you, and you never remember it from the first time around because it's so stressful. So even when they're sleeping, you're not really taking it in. So the second baby sleeps a lot, so you're able to be with the first. And time, things are always changing with time. So with every month, the baby gets older and more able to do things, and the older one gets older and more maybe into playing with Barbies for 10 minutes rather than wanting to be on you. And you know, everything's changing all the time. So with every 6 months that goes by, you're almost dealing with two, you know, a really different situation. So not now, I know it's not worth getting caught up in like, but what if this, or I can't deal with this situation, because it's passing. So yeah, if I have a third, I don't know what I'm it's just a whole different ball game, 3. But yeah,
I love the fact that you're saying that. Honestly, I love the fact that you're like, I want another one. I love that. I'm here for that.
It's just been so lovely this year, which I feel really kind of guilty for saying, because it's been such a horrendous year for so many people. And I've been very lucky to have had a child, two young kids, but like a baby in 2020. That's just meant I've been at home with the kids all the time, and I've loved it. You know, I've been able to like not have the added stress of work, so much work, or you know, going to socialize or doing all these things. It's like our world's become a lot smaller, which is, you know, it's just been the house. And actually I found that a lot easier to manage parenting and manage, you know, all the other things that go with it. And there's just been so many cuddles, and I've just, yeah, it's been great. So I think that's why I'm like, let's just have another baby. But I'm not sure how it will be. Yeah, with 3. Let's think about that another time.
And this brings me nicely on to your work, because you are a personal trainer, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you specialise with women pre and postnatal.
Yes.
And all of Emily's workouts, she puts out so much content for expecting and new mums on her page, to do with play, how to keep your kids entertained quickly so you can have a wee. It's everything from that to how to physically take care of yourself before and after, and what will help, and how to not push yourself too much, and to respect the fact that you're pregnant or post-pregnancy. And so tell me a little bit about that side of what you do.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't been doing that this year, which I've really, really, really missed. And my Instagram has been my kind of only outlet for that, putting up content, which I love to do. But I haven't been working one-to-one with anyone, which I, really, really missed that interaction and that kind of the satisfaction of seeing someone kind of grow and, you know, go through those times. So yeah, I was a PT before I got pregnant, and then when I had my first, I was like, so when I was pregnant with my first, I did my pre and postnatal course, which was amazing. And then once I had my first, I was like, just found I had loads of clients that had kids or were pregnant, and it was just perfect. And I could take my daughter along, who, as I said, just always wanted to be next to me or on me, so it was ideal, really. And she was really, really good. So having the second, one of my biggest worries as well was like, how am I going to work with 2 kids? You know, I'd have to put them in nursery full time, which is totally fine. I'm not saying people shouldn't do that, but I didn't want to do that. So I was like, how am I going to juggle being with them and working? But yeah, this year is kind of, so I had a few clients when Rocky was like 4 or 5 months old, and then COVID hit, so that changed. So yeah, it's something I'm really looking forward to getting back into, maybe when winter's at school next year.
Oh my gosh,
I
how's
know.
that happened?
Oh my gosh, I know.
Oh, she's gonna look so cute in a little uniform.
So excited, she's so excited. So yeah, when I've got a bit more time, I'm really looking forward to doing that. And but until then, I'm just trying to put as much free content out as I can and help people in that way, which is great. It's obviously not as you can't work with people as personally. Obviously, you kind of have to blanket things, like certain exercises that might be okay for certain people. On Instagram, I have to say, you know, it's best not to do this if you're pregnant, or it's very different how you talk when you're talking to the masses. But I still love doing it. I feel really, really lucky to be able to do what I love, and a small I'm keeping afloat, but yeah, no, it's great. But yeah, at the moment, I love being with the girls, and I want to give the majority of my time I have to them on the daily. And when they're at school, I can work all the hours around the sun. That'd be fine.
So if you are an expecting mum, or someone that's just given birth, go give Emily a follow, because she's got so much stuff on her page, and I think it's really good and really important that when people are pregnant or after they've given birth, guess what? Your body is in a different space, and going and just smashing it out, you know, isn't going to be the answer for you. So be kind to yourself and still keep active. But, you know, this lady has some great tips on how to do that, and safely. So, and that's the bit that I love that you do as well, right? Because I think women can be really hard on themselves physically. And it's important to understand that we're in a different phase at that time, and our bodies need to be treated a bit differently, right? So we can still be active, but let's be sensible, let's be safe, and you know,
and
be educated.
Hard, I think. It's really hard for people, like, say if you're used to doing CrossFit 6 days a week, and you train all through your pregnancy, and then you have a really, really tricky birth, and you're in a real state of like recovery for quite a while, and you're desperate mentally to get back into doing all the things you were doing before, but you just, it's your body is in a very different situation for a while as well. So although it can be training when you have kids is just a savior for a lot of people, and it's wonderful, it's also very important to do things slowly and safely, and to really respect that part of your life as well. And that journey, rather than just go, oh right, I have my kids, want to lose this baby weight or whatever it is, and get back into it. So God, if this year's shown us anything, time, well, I feel like time's flown this year. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, this
like
year's I think it's been a mad year for everyone in one way or another, because it's just been so different, right? Whatever it's thrown at us, it's been so different. It's been that's big in itself, and it's just gone. I'm just like, where has the year gone?
I think because we've been so consumed in it, and not knowing the end, we haven't kind of been able to take a step back and look at it as a whole. So you're kind of so consumed that suddenly it's like Christmas, and time is fleeting, and our bodies are amazing, and we, the process it goes through pregnancy and healing, and it's just amazing. So we just really need to respect it and honor it and enjoy the journey.
So where can we find you?
So the best place is on my Instagram, and I am Emily Williams Fitness. And so there, really, I mean, I'm forever threatening to start a YouTube, but I'm yet to find the time to do that yet.
You have enough videos. You have enough videos that you could literally just upload all the videos you've got and have like a stonking channel. A stonking channel. This lady must have like 1,000 videos, I reckon, good to go. Aww. She could launch her YouTube channel and have so much content on there in a jiffy, I reckon.
Oh, yeah, I might do that actually.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your journey of being a mum, what you feel, and certainly that, that experience that has definitely had a massive impact on how you mother now, and understandably so, right? Big things don't happen to us in life and have no effect. It just doesn't work like that, even if at the time we think it does. As you say, later on, as time goes on, and for you, it could have been very much brought to the top by the fact you were going to be a mother and have young people in your life that were going to be young people like you, right? Who had to deal with something difficult. And when we can go our life and then something will change that can take us back to that space where we're like, oh, this is now going to become a thing, right? And it can then make us think differently and realize that maybe these things did have an effect on us, and they do impact how we behave and our view and parent and all of these things, and it's normal for big things to affect us and change how we navigate life. I
think the important thing is to acknowledge things that happen, how you're feeling, and to talk about it. And like you said, it's not a weakness to feel, talk about things and be, and there's a strength in honesty and being open and emotional, honesty. And it's you're not a stronger person for not feeling or pretending you're not feeling.
I love that. Perfect. It's true. Thank you.
Oh, it was lovely talking to you.
Yes.